What is up, Algebra 1? It is your host with the most, bringing the heat to make some toast, Mr. Knight. And after that horrible rhyme scheme, we're going to look at something called function notation, something I'm a lot better at than sick rhymes, okay? So last time we looked at what a function is, we defined it. Now I'm actually going to give you a function, okay, represented with y equals, and then something, right? So you probably have seen this before. You might have seen it with like x and y tables, okay? So it'll give you this function, it'll give you an equation, and now you can plug stuff in for x, and it'll spit out something in terms of y. Kind of like we were looking at with how Oreos are made. It starts with an input, and then stuff happens, and then it turns into an output, the Oreo that we love to eat, okay? So if I plug in like 0, 1, and 2 into this thing, again, I can plug 0 in for x. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 8 is negative 8. That's what y would equal if I were doing this. What I'd like you guys to do right off the bat is I want you to finish this off for number 1 and 2, and go. Alright, we're back. So again, if we're looking at this, you got y equals, we're plugging in 1 for x. This is 2 times 1 minus 8. That's going to be y equals 2 minus 8, which equals negative 6. So y equals negative 6. That's how we're getting that y value. We can continue on with 2. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 8 is negative 4. Okay? And what we have just created, if you recall from yesterday, is basically some ordered pairs that we can come out, right? So we could have wrote this as negative 4, 3, negative 2, 0, and so on and so forth, and we could plot those on a graph. So it's pretty handy, right? But we're going to talk about a different way of writing this guy out, and it's honestly, they're interchangeable. You can use them either way, but I want you to get used to this because you'll see this notation a lot. It's called f of x, okay? So it turns into f of x equals 2x minus 8, okay? And this is read as f of x, just like that, and then equals. So the only thing that has changed is the y is now f of x, okay? So we still have some kind of input, so I can still plug 0 in for this guy, and 2 times 0 is 0 minus 8 is f of x equals negative 8. But how you would write it now is I can write it like this. F of 0 equals, and now it's going to be 2 times 0 minus 8. Now you can actually see exactly what you're plugging in, because instead of x now, you're plugging in 0. And the same thing happens. F of 0 equals negative 8. That has not changed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to evaluate functions, okay? So to evaluate a function for a specific value, we're going to substitute that value in for x, like we just did up here, okay? So let's look at number 1, and we'll try number 3 together as well. So we'll do these two together, and then I'm going to give you a chance to do some on your own. So number 1, we have 3 different parts. If I do f of 5, well, f of 5 is going to equal 5 plus 7, which equals 12. So that is my answer. That's all I'm doing, is I'm plugging something in and then just evaluating it, okay? I'm not solving. I'm not getting a variable by itself. I'm actually replacing the variable with a number that's in here, okay? So I'm going to repeat this. So f of negative 1, that's going to equal negative 1 plus 7. And negative 1 plus 7 is 6. I can continue on. Negative 3 in for x. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. Okay? But it can get a little bit tricky, especially when we kind of introduce either fractions or if we introduce like x squared terms and things like that, okay? So let's actually look. I know I said we were going to do 1 and 3. You guys know how to multiply fractions, so you're going to do that one at some point. Let's look at number 4 because we haven't done anything like this, okay? You've seen x squared with your like terms, but evaluating it's a different thing. We also have an x in 2 different spots. So how do we plug this guy in? Well, if I have f of negative 4, I'm going to plug negative 4 in like this, okay? Kind of like I was doing up here with the 0. If I did f of 0, I plug the 0 in parentheses. I like to do that. You're going to see why in a little bit. Because when I do that, I'm going to have negative 4 squared, and then I'm going to have minus a negative 4, right? That's where my other x was, okay? The reason I set that up like this is because negative 4 squared, so that is negative 4 times negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. Okay? So we get 16. And then we have a minus minus 4. That makes a positive. So 16 plus 4 equals 20. All right? So it's a little bit more complicated. Okay? So put whatever you're substituting in parentheses. It's good etiquette. We didn't do it here. It didn't bite us. It didn't hurt us. But it's good to do that, especially when you get to these ones. Because if I did this instead, negative 4 squared, might be a little different. Because you might do your PEMDAS, right? 4 squared is, well, 4 times 4 is 16. But then you have a minus 16. So I get two different values. I get a negative 16 instead of a positive 16. And that's really the main difference, okay? Let's try it with this one. Negative 1 is going in for x. Negative 1 squared minus, in parentheses, negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And then negative times a negative is a positive. So this is 1 plus 1 equals 2. And finally, we finish off with the 7. We have 7 squared minus 7 in parentheses. So this equals 49. 7 times 7 is 49 minus 7. That's going to equal 42, actually. Not bad. Almost made an error. Almost made an error. Okay? So I want you guys to try number 2. And I want you to try number 3 on your own and see what you guys come up with. And go. All right, we're back. Let's look at number 2 and number 3. So g of 1, again, I'm not going to do it for each and every single one of these, but I'm going to show you the process for this first one. We plug 1 in for x, so this is 3, and then 1 in parentheses minus 8. That lets me know these guys are next to each other. They're going to multiply. This is 3 minus 8, and that equals negative 5. And the other ones are going to be, this is going to be 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, minus 8, that equals negative 17. And then 3 times 0 is 0, minus 8 equals negative 8. Okay? As a way to check your work. Now we have number 3 right here. Okay, again, let's do the first one. I got 2/3 times x, which is going to be my negative 3. And I'm going to put negative 3 as a fraction. I'm going to put negative 3 over 1. And then I'm going to subtract 1. So now, let's work this guy out. We got 2 times 3 on top, that's 6. And then 3 times 1 on the bottom is 3. This was a positive times a negative, so this is negative 6/3 minus 1. And we can reduce that or simplify it. We can simplify it to negative 2 minus 1, and that equals negative 3. Okay? B is 2/3 times 0 is 0. Minus 1 is negative 1. And then finally, this guy, 2/3 times 9, it's going to be 6 minus 1, which is just 5. Okay? So again, let's look at 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are a little wacky. We just did them with number 4. But again, it's kind of weird. So what I want you guys to try to do is I want you guys to try number 5 on your own in a little bit. And I'm actually going to go over number 6 right now, okay? All right, so let's run through number 6 a little bit. Number 6, I'm only going to do part A, okay? So again, f of negative 3, I'm going to plug negative 3 in for every instance of x. And just like I did up here, I'm going to plug it in parentheses. So this equals negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3 minus 4, okay? Now, this is where PEMDAS comes in handy, your order of operations. So PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and then addition, subtraction. Okay, so let's do our parentheses first. Can't do much with that. Exponents. I got negative 3 squared. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. Okay? And then right here we have a 6 times negative 3. That is a negative 18. Okay? Let's write it like this for right now. Then minus 4. Okay? Now, from here, okay, now let's focus on any multiplication, division we got to do. No division, but multiplication technically. I have this negative out here. If there's a negative outside of parentheses, it's implied it's a negative 1, and you can multiply it in. Also, you might have just looked and been like, hey, that's negative, in parentheses, 9, so that's a negative 9. Plus a negative 18 is the same thing as minus 18, and then minus 4. So we're basically going to add all these up and keep the negative. So we're going to get negative 31 out of that. Okay, that is for part A. What I'd like you guys to do is I want you guys to try number 5. I want you to just do A and B for me. All right, and go. All right, we're back. Let's take a look at these guys. We have 3 times negative 4 squared plus 7. Again, I'm going to square this first. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 3 times 16 is 48. Plus 7 is 55. 55. Okay. And then B, same idea. I'm going to do 3 times negative 2 squared plus 7. Negative 2 squared is a positive 4. So 3 times 4 plus 7, so that would be 12 plus 7, that equals 19. Okay? Not too bad, not too bad, okay? Let's go ahead and flip the page. And of all these guys, the one I really want to pay attention to is number 10 right here. Number 10 is kind of an oddball. So if you give this, first of all, this is called absolute value. So basically what it does is it makes everything you do that's inside of it, makes it positive. So if I have absolute value of 3, it's already positive. So that's just 3. If I have the absolute value of negative 3, it's just 3 again. Okay? So whatever's going to be in here, it's going to end up being positive, but we got to work it inside first. So if I take g to the 4th first, first of all, that's going to be 4 minus 4 squared. I'm going to take the absolute value of that, right? So I'm going to do 4 minus 4 squared. So I'm going to do 4 squared first. Well, that's 4 minus 16. And then 4 minus 16 is negative 12. And then the absolute value of negative 12 is just 12. That's the answer. I want you guys to try letter C for me. All right? And go. All right, we're back. Let's take a look at this guy. We've got negative 3 minus negative 3 squared. Okay, again, this is going to be negative 3 minus positive 9. And so that's going to be negative 12. But again, it's going to be a positive 12 because of the absolute value. Okay, and we are done. All right. The last thing I kind of want to look at is number 12. And this is actually using the graph of the function to find each of these guys, right? So it's really not that bad. It just looks a little intimidating. So remember, these are x values in here. So we need to find the y values. Well, if I have f of negative 4, I'm going to find negative 4 on my x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's negative 4. And then what's the y value there that my graph crosses? Oh, that's a positive 2. That's it. Okay? That's all you got to do. Same thing, f of 0. Start here. What's my y value there? Hey, that's also 0. Okay? I want you guys to try it for C and D and see what you guys come up with. And go. All right, we're back. Let's take a look. F of 2 right here. What's my y value? Negative 1, negative 2. F of 5. Come down to negative 1. And we are done. Okay? So that is just negative 1 right there. Okay, my 8th hour just popped in. Hey guys, if you're watching this 8th hour, I'm just getting tomorrow's lesson, which is today's lesson, done for you, okay? We are good. We're going to get started on the actual homework and use these notes to help you have an awesome day.